Alright, so I had enough resources to build the incarnon furis, so I'm going to talk about that today. Again, I'll show off the options really quick. We'll go into the simulacrum, if you just want to know what it does, and the options, you know. And then after that, I will talk about just like stuff, like why I chose what I chose, builds, ideas, stuff like that. So, there you go. Those are all the options. Again, we're going to load into the simulacrum. And just as a preview, the alt fire or the incarnon form is basically turned into like the 7 amp from Fortuna, where it's like a giant like cone beam thing, and it also gives it pure heat, pretty good like crits and stats, critical chance, status chance. So pretty good overall. Now, is it as explosive or like crazy as a Latron or the Strun or like the Brad or Paris? Not in like the traditional sense. I think it has a pretty like funny build that you can do with it. I'll show that off later, but again, with all my builds, at least the ones I'm going to show for right now for this incarnate weapon, is that it's super basic. This can be way better. You can use galvanized mods, you can mod it differently. I just want to show what the weapon can do by itself. That's why I'm not using a Panzer. My Umbra doesn't have any damage buffs on him. There's no Arcane that's going to be boosted damage. There is Roar, but I'm not using Roar. So, there you go, if you're wondering. Now, again, the build, super basic. Generic crit viral build. Winds of Purity is an augment mod that's unique to the Furis. It gives you lifesteal on hit. It works in both versions, and if you get enough affinity, you get like a AoE corrosive burst, and it heals you, and I think increases your max health. Don't have any arcane mods in here, so this is very basic, like the super basic. I just want to emphasize that. Okay, so I'm just gonna show it off. I'm gonna pause these guys. And that's not really impressive killing these butchers, because I think we killed them really. Like I said, it takes a little time to get through that overguard, but again, not bad, honestly. For super bare minimum, like no galvanized mods, this is pretty good, honestly. And the fact that the incarnon version, you can also use the Winds of Purity augment, pretty good. So that's all you want to see. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna spend the rest of the video just talking about builds and stuff like that. So without further ado, we're gonna go over the choices and why I chose them. So for the first one, it was between, I think, electricity proc and getting extra damage or multi-shot, or just having overshields increasing damage. Modding for electricity on this gun is kind of weird, because to proc the perk on the incarnate, you have to actually, the electricity proc has to come from the weapon. You can't like use Gaia or something to get the electricity proc. So trying to mod like viral electric wouldn't really work here, because the incarnon has pure heat, and that would combine to make radiation. So I think it's better to save on the mod slots and just go with this one. Also, overshields are actually quite easy to come by if you use any of the auger mods. Like if you shield gate at all and use auger mods, you're gonna have overshields. Pillage, Condemn, shield satellites, all give you overshields. Pillage and Condemn are subsumable. Equinox's 4 gives you overshield. Like overshields are very easy to come by. And it is kind of frame dependent. Obviously, if you're Naros or Nidus, you can't get overshields, but still. Not the worst thing to pick. The second one, I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick any of them. I think the accuracy one's the weakest one, because the accuracy does affect the incarnon form, but it's a beam. It's like it's not gonna like split off and miss or something. If you have, the accuracy boost doesn't make it like super like narrow or something. So it didn't really change anything for me. The extra magazine will get this up to 50, and I should have tested to see if it increased the incarnon magazine size, but it's whatever. The instant reload on headshot is pretty nice. It only works in the Furis, like the non-incarnon form, but again, as you can tell, the Furis doesn't have a lot of ammo in terms of reserves, so I don't know. The reload does take away from the reserves, not from thin air. So again, it doesn't really matter what you pick in the third. I think that was the third incarnon form. Doesn't really matter what perk you choose; they are kind of okay. Again. The way I'm using the fears, I'm gonna be in the incarnon form for like the majority of the time, so the low ammo count doesn't really necessarily matter. So there you go. Again, and then for the last one, I chose status chance because the extra fire rate on headshot does pair nicely with Executioner's Fortune. But again, the fact that Executioner's Fortune does pull from reserves and doesn't technically affect the incarnon doesn't really matter. Now, if this affected the incarnon, this might be broken, because just being able to like refill your entire incarnon bar is kind of crazy. But anyways, I went with status because I have a build in mind, and honestly, extra status chance isn't the worst thing to pick. There was the one where you get extra crit multiplier if you're below a certain crit chance, but it's honestly, I'd rather take more consistent crits than like a a spike, like, you know, like a spike when I get a crit. The reason why the Fenmore and the Furlax are so good with like a perk like that is that they get 2,000% damage when they don't crit. Like if they have a 50% chance when they don't crit to do 2,000% damage. So it is a little bit inconsistent technically, but it's way stronger than just getting an extra crit multiplier. So yeah, there you go. Now, the reason why I use the Winds of Purity augment mod is because of this idea of health tanking, where you're going to be regenerating more health than the enemies can deal damage to you. Uh, Now, the reason why it doesn't really work when you get to super high levels, that at some point they'll just obliterate you. They'll heal. They'll deal more damage than you can even heal, or they'll just kill you outright. So that's why shield gating is like the best for endgame stuff, because again, you can just press a button, depending on what your setup is, and now you're immortal. Like you get that one-shot protection. There's no health gate. There's no like health one-shot protection. If they deal more damage than you can heal or have, then you're just dead. So it does have a limit, but and I'm gonna show it off on Naros because he just has a ton of health. Now again, you know, you don't have to have a shit ton of health to make this viable. I was using this again on my Umbro when I was leveling it up to basically just not die. So yeah, this is Naros. I purposely took off. I usually have Arcane Guardian, Arcane Gracer. I took these off on purpose. Also missing a mod slot. My Subsume is Firewalker, so there's nothing else giving me survivability. I'm not even gonna put on Negation Swarm. I do have triple Umbra, so that does help. But just to show you the idea that I'm healing pretty decent amount. I'm actually gonna grab some Bombards here. It doesn't matter. We'll do an Xmas Bombard. We'll do like 2. We'll see how bad this goes. So I'm just gonna let my health. They are gonna try to kill the butchers, but I'm just gonna, yeah. So I'm taking damage, but you can see like just a little bit of spraying, and I'm at full health. Oh, that's a Blizz Xmas. That's actually kind of bad. But as you can tell, that I'm healing up pretty consistently. Now, if I put on the incarnon form, it's even better because again, the incarnon form does more damage. And what makes the Winds of Purity augment so good in terms of life steal, that it does 20% damage of the weapon. And as you can tell, like when I'm doing 12,000, you know, viral procs or whatever, yeah, that's gonna heal me quite a bit. That's more than my current health, right? So that's why this is a pretty good. It's basically like what the Hemo wants to be, I guess, because I think the Hemo is another gun of innate lifesteal. But the Hemo has innate viral, so I guess there's a reason to use it. But the point is, I'm kind of getting a tangent. But you can see that pretty much getting my health back instantly. Okay, I thought that would do way more damage, but whatever. So yeah, there's that. So that's idea number 1. Now, idea number 2 involves Thrax units and the defense objective, because I know in Steel Path Circuit, the issue is once you start going higher and higher, the defense targets gets obliterated. Now, an excavation doesn't really matter because you technically cannot fail on excavation. It just takes a really long time. But obviously, if you die, the defense target dies, you fail. So Guardian Derision basically aggroes enemies when you block. Now, obviously, if you level this up more, it has a bigger area. So my brain, like my thought, it's purely on paper. I haven't tested it out. But what if you have someone to use Guardian Derision to aggro the Thrax and just distract them, and then if they want to kill them, they'll just switch to the Furis with the Incarnon form, so they can try to like tank any damage they would do. Now, I mean, in that case, you might just get one shot anyway, so you might just be better off guarding with the Sigma Noctanthus, I guess. But just an idea to throw out, just using Guardian Derision to distract the Thrax. Don't even know if it works, just an idea. So yeah, that's the health tanking thing. Now, I'm going to use a Warframe with Overshields real quick. Let's see. Again, I forgot Stynax's 3 also gives you Overshield on kill. There's plenty of ways to get Overshields in this game. Let's go to, where's Protea? Alright, let's use Protea. Again, my Protea build, this is my actual Protea build, not the other one, but we'll use this one. Not going to use, again, no Arcanes here that's helping our damage. So we're going to use the Overshield now to get the bonus damage for this one. So again, the build's the same, we're just going to do that. Now, a pretty cool thing about secondary weapons, actually no, I'll save that a little bit later, because I want to go into like a little tangent about that, but, okay. Get these guys to build up our Incarnon stacks, get no galvanized mods. I'd say that's pretty good. Again, I'm just trying to let them burn out, but you can just hold the beam on them and do that too if you want. So, secondary weapons have access to different kinds of arcanes. Obviously different from primary. Like the primary, Merciless, Deadhead, and Dexterity, there are secondary variants of this, obviously, but the Cascadia mods are unique to secondary weapons, and there's one called Cascadia Overcharge, which gives you 30% critical chance when you have an Overshield. And as you can tell, we can just easily get an Overshield. So now let's do the damage test now. Oh, fun fact, there used to be a Warframe mod for like about a day until DE realized how broken it was. If you could just get 300% crit chance, put on a Warframe Arcane slot. No, they just only put on secondaries now though, but as you can tell, a lot better damage, right? And this isn't unreasonable. Again, I'm not jumping through hoops here. I'm just using shield satellites, and look at that. Look at that damage. Uh, Again, you could use Harrow and just make this thing red crit too, like obviously. But I'm just trying to show a more general use for this Arcane. So yeah, if you want like you don't have to think too much build, I think this is a pretty good one. Now here's where the funny things happen. So I have this weapon, right, the Phantasma, and I think the Phantasma is a really good weapon because it's a beam weapon and it has a ton of status chance because of that. And if you mod it properly, you can have like just a ginormous heat proc. You can stack so many heat procs on enemies, right? And if you're wondering why I have so many heat mods on here, is that's to change the weighting, because viral procs cap out at 10. Heat procs don't have a cap on how many heat procs you can put on a single target, unless they're like an acolyte or something. I think they're going to take like 4. But for most enemies that you're going to encounter, they don't have a heat proc cap. So we're going to see now what the damage. Let's look how many heat procs I can get. I'm going to get some galvanized stacks first, just to show you. Because galvanized sabbies just gives you increased status chance. But 93, look at that. Yeah, this is the weapon I use in like Steel Path Void Cascade, because you can just beam a Thrax for a little bit, and again, like I'll usually have a Panzer and some damage boosters going, and that thing will just melt before I even look at it, and I just have to kill the ghost. So yeah, so that's the Phantasm, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that the furis kind of reminded me of that with the whole entire. It has a like a beam thing. Now I don't think it uses beam status chance, but it's a big beam. It has innate heat. So what if we do something like this, where we mod for pure heat, right? And we use Cascadia Flare. Now, Cascadia Flare is unique because the damage bonus is humongous, 480%. That's better than Deadhead and Dexterity. I'm assuming Cascadia Flare is base damage. I don't think it's multiplicative. Doesn't really matter, though, in this case, because you'll see. But the idea is, on a heat status effect, we get a ton of damage. That's why I went with the status effect incarnon bonus, and I'm using galvanized shot to get even more status chance. So the idea is kind of like the Phantasma, where we're just gonna put a ton of heat procs and we're just gonna melt the enemy, right? That's the idea here. And I'm not gonna use overshields this time because that so I'm not even gonna have the bonus from the first incarnon evolution thing. So we're gonna see how much damage this thing can do. Again, no viral, no other outside bonuses. This is just Cascadia Flare with some galvanized mods. And as you can tell, I'm not getting as many heat procs as the Phantasma, but the damage of the heat procs are pretty significant. Like, this is what makes this really fun. Now, if you're in a room, you just go like this and kind of kill everything. So yeah, while not on paper, like it's not as like upfront as the Latron or the Strun, I think this is pretty good at room clearing. And we'll see that in the little tests we're going to do. So now I'm going to use overshields here to get the little bonus, like the extra damage from the first incarnon. And I don't really notice a difference, but it's still more damage, so I might be killing them slightly faster. Now, so yeah, we're gonna do the test. I'm not gonna use Panzer. I'm probably just gonna use Protea, I guess. And if you keep wondering why I don't use like damage boosters and all this other stuff, it's just to show the weapon on its own. Again, when you play Warframe, are you just gonna use a weapon? No, you have Warframe and stuff like that. But I just like a benchmark to see how strong it is compared to how strong you can make it. And honestly, it's also another like thing to say, oh, if someone's like, hey, this doesn't look really appealing. Well, again, my argument, well, I'm not using any galvanized mods. I'm not using anything too crazy. So yeah, you can make it way stronger than what I'm showing you. But yeah, like let's just take Trinity for example, right? Where's where I put Trinity at? She is somewhere around here. There we go. Yeah, so this Trinity, right? I'm using a baiting link, so I'm gonna completely strip all their armor. But the reason why I don't show stuff with like armor strip and damage boost is like, just look at this. Look what happens when I just strip an armor of an enemy. Spoiler, they're just gonna fall over. And that's kind of the point. The reason why I don't really use like Warframe to do stuff like this, because again, yeah, obviously if you just strip armor, right, and then you just boost your own damage, yeah, you're just gonna kill stuff like really fast. Right, I know maybe Trinity wasn't the best because I'm using a baiting link here, I'll just try Hildren. I don't have a full strip Hildren build. Technically, I have to double cast it, but the idea is the same. Is once you strip armor and you boost your own damage, like once you just strip armor in general, if you're fighting armored enemies, you're just gonna fall over, especially if you're using viral and heat. So I mean, any weapon can do that. Like again, any weapon can do that. People have one shot an Eidolon using a mining laser, right? You can buff the hell out of anything. That's the entire point. Is what I'm trying to get at. That's why I don't really want to show off weapons with warframes, because it's like, yeah, I think anyone can put two and two together and like imagine the damage once you start doing some crazy things. I'm trying to find a Hildren. I'll just type it in. I probably missed like 13 times. Spelled Hildren wrong. I don't know how to spell Hildren. There we go. H-I. There we go. Again, this isn't a full strip build, but still, we'll just double cast it. Alright, so now they're fully stripped, right? And like, wow, look how much damage I'm doing with pure heat. Wow, this is the most broken weapon ever. It's like, yeah, you know, when you strip armor against enemies that have armor, yeah, they're kind of just gonna fall over. Now against the Corpus, you know, trying to mod for toxins kind of a little weird on here again because that innate heat, but you could kind of make it work. Go like radiation toxin, I think. So yeah, against the Corpus, you know, it's like, yeah, it works. This thing works. You can make anything really work. It doesn't matter. So anyways, I'm going to go, I guess I'll grab Protea, because I could use Hildren, but Hildren armor strips with her shield gate stuff, so I don't want to do that. And this is the build I use. It's a little funky, but that's a build for another discussion for another time. Anyways, yep, we're going to be using the Cascadia Flare build. I think this is maybe not better than this build, but it's a lot more fun, and I like this. I like fun. So, yeah, we're going to do that. I'll kill like a couple of Thrax units, maybe like one or two. But it's like with the other video of the Lightron, where I think you can kind of get where the strength of this weapon lies. Again, I think this also has pretty good utility in terms of health tanking stuff, but you can pretty much use whatever you want. So yeah, while not as exciting on first glance as the other Incarnons, I actually like the Incarnon Furis a lot. So gonna be using this more often. Again, we're on Steel Path 2. Oh, we're going against Corpus. Perfect. So like the armor stripping things aren't gonna matter. Look at that. We're gonna use pure heat against Corpus, which I believe they have a shield gate if you don't use magnetic on them or something like that, or just bypass with toxin. So we'll see how good this does now. Well, I guess technically Thrax units have armor, so the heat dams will be useful here, I guess. Did I not? Okay. Again, it doesn't look as impressive right now because I need to build up my stacks, right? Because I'm using galvanized mods, but I mean, yeah, in the case of Corpus, they kind of just like fall over. Oh, I say that as I die. I should have picked Unairu. I keep forgetting to swap over to Unairu when I'm doing stuff like this. Yeah, you know, I'll actually go over to Sedna and do like a Grineer thing. Wow, I keep just dying because I'm not paying attention. Yeah, we'll do it against Grineer because I think Corpus. I think, you know, most Corpus aren't really the most tanky enemies, honestly. So let me actually throw it on my shield satellites here, not just. Looks like they're just breaking my shield. Sorry, this isn't the best showcase, but look, I mean, in terms of AOE, like I'm just going like this, and I'm kind of room clearing. So yeah, we'll go do a thing on Sedna here. Just show it against some armored units. I think Corpus are a little too easy to kill. Granted, they do a lot of damage. They have a lot of units that do a shit ton of damage, so maybe that's why. But this is pretty much the end of the video. Honestly, if you stayed long enough to hear me ramble, thanks for watching. Again, I will do a quick little survival demonstration. Now, how will this hold up in the circuit? I think it'll hold up pretty great because there's like there's a couple, because you can buff the hell out of your weapons with the decrees too. Like I think the one where enemy becomes more vulnerable with each shot, so like a bullet hose secondary like this would be really good. But the point is, this isn't bad. This isn't a bad weapon. You can use it. I have to keep emphasizing that because I know people are gonna look at this and be like, oh, it's not like the Latron or the Strun. We're just blowing everything up instantly. Now, that clearly it must not be good enough or something. I don't know. I know there's certain people like that, but like I said, play how you want to play, I guess. Yeah, against these armor units, yeah, pretty good. Probably should have picked a more. I probably should use a more tanky setup than this. But as you can see, again, pure heat, no viral, no damage boosts. No. I'm just gonna end it right here. Hold on, let me see if I can get back up. Yeah, I definitely should have picked Unaru if I'm going against Grineer. Oh man, I got lucky right there. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna die here because I don't have any energy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, thanks for watching. I believe Sunday is reset for the Incarnons, and I believe I don't remember all of them next week, but the ones I think it's gonna be the Vasto, Burston, and some other stuff, or it might be the Torrid and Dual Toxicist. Um, the point is that you can kind of tell what weapons I'm gonna get those Incarnon adapters because those are the ones I remember for next week. But next week looks to seem pretty interesting. Again, hopefully the Incarnon, at least the weapon Incarnon, like the gun Incarnon, seem pretty interesting because they changed how the weapons function. All the melee Incarnon just seem to give it extra range and damage, which isn't like bad, but it's not as like fun as turning the Furis into like a beam weapon. But that's pretty much it. Again, I said thanks for watching for the 18th time, but again, thanks for watching.